One small mistake could cost your company thousands when it comes to the OSHA log. That's right, we're talking about OSHA logs. We're talking about the OSHA 300-day summary. And in this episode, I'm going to go over the 10 most common mistakes I see. And stick around to the end, because at the end, I'm going to throw in a bonus one that always seems to come up every single year. These are mistakes that even experienced safety managers make, but it especially happens to new safety managers. So let's dive in to the OSHA log and the 10 most common mistakes that people make. Well, hey friends, my name is David Sawyer. I'm a safety coach. I help busy safety managers, especially new safety managers, go from feeling overwhelmed to OSHA ready. I help you prevent accidents and avoid an unexpected OSHA audit, because no one should get hurt at work. And in today's episode, we're going to talk about a very common mistake. In fact, we're going to talk about 10 common mistakes that new safety managers make when it comes to filling out the OSHA log. It's something that has to be done every year, and it's easy to make a mistake. Now, before we jump into the content, I want to remind you, go to my website, helpwithosha.com, and you can access a free OSHA audit checklist. This is a great way to get your company prepared in the event of an OSHA audit. I mean, how would you feel if OSHA came and knocked on the door right now? If you're like most managers, you wouldn't feel real good. You're not going to feel warm and fuzzy. But if you go through and access this checklist, then you will be able to go through a process where by the end of it, you will feel confident that you know what to expect and that your team is prepared for an OSHA audit. I help you get the documents in order. I help you make sure you know how to approach the compliance officer and what is involved in the process. I explain the 3-part framework that goes into every single OSHA audit. This is a great free resource. Again, go to my website, helpwithosha.com. You can access this. There's even a video that explains step by step what's involved with the checklist. Now, let's go ahead and jump into today's topic. We're going to be talking about the 10 most common ways that people make mistakes on the OSHA log. And the very first thing that we've got right here is counting the days. Counting the days. You see, the OSHA log requires that you report severe accidents and OSHA recordable accidents, right? The accidents that have to be recorded on the log, and there's a criteria that has to be met. But when you report these, you also have to count the number of days that the person was injured, right? So if you picture an injury list, this is going to be the number of days that the person was on the injury list. And the mistake that most people make is they don't count the right days. They end up counting the days that are work days, and that's a mistake. You have to count calendar days. So let's assume, or let's say for a second that somebody got injured on the 10th of December. Well, if they get injured on the 10th of December, and then they get cleared to go back to work on the 18th of December, that's going to be 8 days. So, as an example, you count the calendar days. You don't count the weekends. I mean, you do count the weekends. Excuse me, let me clarify. The mistake people make is they don't count weekends. We're going to count the weekends. We're going to count the calendar days. We're going to go right off the calendar. We're going to go, okay, they were injured on the 10th. That day doesn't count. That's the date the injury happened. But let's say they were pulled out of work for the 11th, the 12th, the 13th, the 14th, the 15th, 16th, the 17th, and the 18th. Boom. That's 8 days that are going to be listed. So making sure that you have proper documentation and you know when people were put on restriction, when people were taken out of work, all that matters. And that goes into counting the right days. So make sure you count the weekends, count the calendar days. The second one we've got, this is a big one, not knowing first aid. Now, I'm not talking about actually knowing how to perform first aid. I'm talking about understanding the classification of first aid. You see, first aid meets a certain classification under the OSHA standard. So if something requires stitches, if someone requires prescription medication, if somebody is out of work or is put on restrictive duty, that is beyond first aid. So let me clarify this. First aid means I got hurt, I got a scratch, I got a Band-Aid, I went back to work that day. That's what first aid is. Something that goes beyond first aid is when you have an OSHA recordable, and that's when you say, hey, they had to go to the doctor and they had to get stitches. They had to go to the doctor, they had to get a prescription. They had to go to the doctor, this happened, the doctor took them out of work. They're no longer allowed to lift more than 25 pounds. They have a restriction. So you have to understand what that means. If you have somebody and they got cut, but they didn't get stitches, probably not going to be beyond first aid. So that's where the line is. There's first aid, which is not a recordable, and there's beyond first aid, which is a recordable. It would really help if you understand exactly what is classified as beyond first aid. So that's an important one. Now, the third one, I see this all the time. Delayed entry onto the log. Now, the OSHA log has to be kept throughout the entire year. So it has to be updated throughout the entire year. And the mistake that managers make is they go, well, we don't have a lot of accidents, and I fill it in at the end of the year. Big mistake. Huge. Don't make that mistake. You can't fill it all in at the end of the year. You've got to fill it in as you go. This thing has to be updated as you go. In fact, you're required to have this filled out within 7 days. So you want to make sure that you have a system in place where you're filling this out as soon as the accident is reported, right? As soon as management knows there's been an accident, it needs to be put on the OSHA log, and that will, again, it's got to qualify as a recordable accident, but that 7-day countdown, the timer starts once you're notified of the accident. So let's just say hypothetically, and I've seen this, trust me, somebody gets hurt 2 weeks ago and then they come and tell you about it. Well, you're not expired. You're not out of the limit because you didn't know about it until now. Now, there's a whole nother video, a whole nother discussion on was it really a work-related accident? We can talk about that another time. But for right now, we're focused in on we got to make sure we're entering this in throughout the year, not just at the end of the year when we are putting together the summary. Got to have it throughout the whole year. Number 4, this is the fourth mistake that even the most experienced safety managers make, and that is not understanding the role of temporary workers. So I want to be really clear. I just was asked this yesterday. I had an email, had a general manager contact me and said, hey, David, do temporary workers, do they go on our log or they go on their company's log? It's really simple. If you are supervising the employee, if they're a temporary agency, like a staffing agency, and let's say you got 10 employees that you are currently supervising, but they're helping you through the holiday season or through some kind of busy season, their labor hours and their accidents will go on your log. So don't forget about temporary employees. If you're supervising that employee, it goes on your log. Now, if they're being supervised by their own management team, right? They're coming in and they're fixing the HVAC system or something, they're not considered somebody that would be on your log because you're not supervising them. Number 5, the fifth reason or the fifth mistake managers make is not using privacy case. So if there's a situation where somebody gets injured in a private area, then you would not put their name on the OSHA log. Instead, you'd put privacy case, and this includes anything like a sexual assault, a sharps injury, something that's medically related when it comes to bloodborne pathogens. That's going to be classified as a privacy case. When I've seen this happen, it was when an employee was injured in the groin, and they realized we probably shouldn't put this guy's name on here. We don't want to make this public so everybody knows about it. And sure enough, that's what you're supposed to do. You're not supposed to put their name. You're supposed to put privacy case. Now, number 6, that one isn't as common, but I still seen it in the past. This one happens way too much. So number 6 is wrong signature. The wrong signature. You see, you're required to have a company executive sign the OSHA log. They have to sign the OSHA 300A summary, and it has to be a company executive. So it cannot be the HR manager. It can't be you. It can't be the safety manager. It's got to be somebody higher up. This is usually an owner, a CEO, somebody that is at the top of the ladder for the company. Has to be one of the top officials. And so this is critical. Don't make the mistake. Don't sign off on the log. This is going to be, you're going to do the log completely, fill it out, do the best of your ability, then pass it on to the executive to make sure they sign it. All right, number 7, not posting the 300A summary. So every year from February 1st to April 30th, this is required to be posted. The 300A summary. So you don't have to post the entire log. You're going to post the summary, but the summary is going to have everything that matters. It's going to have the labor hours. It's going to have the employee number of accidents. It's going to have the severity of the accidents, the days away. All that stuff is put on the summary, and that has to be posted in a public place. Usually it's near the break room or near the time clock, somewhere where employees see the information. It can't be kept a secret. Now, number 8, the number 8 mistake, incorrect labor hours. So you are required, and this is usually the piece of the puzzle that you get from HR or the office manager, but as a safety manager, you usually know, okay, these are the people that were hurt. These are the days away from work. Like, this is where they were injured. You've got kind of the details about the injuries. But when it comes to getting labor hours for the entire year, that goes on the summary. When you have to get labor hours for the entire year, it's usually above your pay grade. It's usually something where you go, hey, I need this number. Give me a number. And if this is the first time the office manager's ever heard of it, they look at you and they're like, where am I going to get that? Or I get the opposite reaction. They go, oh, that's easy. And then they go to their time clock and they pull it up and they give me a number that's really weird, super big or super small compared to what it should be. So you want to make sure that you don't exclude part-time hours. You don't want to exclude temporary workers. You don't want to exclude office workers and office staff. It has to be total labor hours for the entire facility, right? So we're doing the log per facility. All the labor hours that happened at this facility, that's going to go. And we're not including vacation. We're not including paid time off. All right? So we are including temporary workers. We are including part-time workers. We're including workers in the office. We're including workers that are doing work at the company at this facility. We are not including the PTO hours. Okay? So make sure that that is done correctly. Now, number 9, I kind of gave a teaser for this one just a minute ago because we're going to make sure we're using the correct establishment log. Every facility has to have its own log. Now, for companies that have multiple sites, you got to have multiple facilities. I used to do work with a company that had several grain elevators throughout North Carolina. Every single place had to have its own OSHA log for the establishment, for the facility. So don't combine multiple sites into one log. Make sure it's got the address for that facility and you're using the proper, the proper designation. You're not just combining a bunch of stuff into one place. All right, the last one, and then I'm going to get to the bonus. You want to make sure that when you are checking the boxes under the classification section on the OSHA log, that you're not checking multiple boxes. So this is where it's going to say death, days away from work. It'll also talk about work restricted and other recordables. We're only going to check one. On the OSHA log, it tells you at the top in little fine print, check one box. So don't go through and check all of them. Now, that was the last one that I've got for the top 10, but I want to throw this one because I feel like this sneaks under the radar and not everybody understands this. When you fill out the OSHA log and the OSHA summary, it's got to be completely filled out. You don't want to leave any blanks. So personally, when I help a client fill out a log, if there's nothing that happened, I put a 0, right? I'm making sure that no matter who is looking at this, it is crystal clear what's going on. So I've got zeros where nothing happened. I've got things that are clearly marked so that it's very clear what's been marked. We're filling out the name of the person. We're filling out the labor hours. Usually there's 3 main things you got to have. You got to have the accident that happened. You got to have the labor hours, right? And then you got to have an employee or signature at the bottom of the OSHA summary. Keep this thing going throughout the year. It makes it so much easier when January rolls around. And I'm recording this in December right now. I know I'm trying to get this out because usually in January is when everyone's going, oh my gosh, we got to do our OSHA log. Do we have everything we need? Now is the time to make sure you got all your ducks in a row, because when it comes time to do the annual summary, the 300A, you want it to be smooth as silk. And overall, you want to keep these logs so that you can look at 1 year to the next year to the next year, and you'll see the company grow or shrink, and you'll see the accidents shrink. That's what you want to do. Now, if you found this video helpful, if this has resonated with you, I want to encourage you to check out my Safety Starting Point. This is a brand new coaching program that I'm launching next year. It's going to launch in January, and Safety Starting Point is designed to help new safety managers go from overwhelmed to OSHA ready in 90 days. It is a 3-month coaching program, and I'm planning on doing it 4 times next year. So you're going to have each quarter, I'm going to do a different one, but jump into the quarter 1. It's a great way to start off the year. And I'm going to show you what you need to do to put a safety system in place so that you actually manage it proactively instead of reactively. The goal for this is after 90 days, you're going to have the confidence you need to be able to do anything safety related. So we want to make sure that you feel like, hey, I got this. I know what I'm doing. I have a system. I walk you through the safety steps, which is a system that I use to help new safety managers get their feet under them. There are all kinds of safety trainings available. There's all kinds of things when it comes to lockout, tagout, or forklift, or confined space safety, or all kinds of stuff. There's very few resources that actually show you how to be a safety manager and be successful at it. So this is not a course about compliance. This is a course about management, about being a safety manager that knows what's going on, is proactive, and builds credibility with your peers and with leadership at the company. So check that out. Until we talk again, do everything you can to keep the people you work with safe, because no one should get hurt at work.